Hello everybody, welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new album by the alternative rock band from Sweden, Normandie, with their fourth record, Dopamine. So, before I get into reviewing this, I'm actually on the street team for Normandie, and I definitely recommend, I honestly definitely recommend checking out their discography. I think Normandie is a fantastic band. Ingus, White Flag, Dark and Beautiful Secrets are just all banging albums, and I'm actually curious to see how this one holds up. Even though I do know, but obviously when we get to the end, the climax of the review. But I'm on the street team for the band. I'm really happy I've been picked, and also just mentioned there is the Normandie subreddit. If you haven't joined it, I'd recommend checking it out. I also am the creator of that, so it's yeah. So in case you don't know, I'm quite a big fan of Normandie. A very big fan. But yeah, we're gonna go through and rank this album. I'm even going to put a little ranking for each song. I do that when I'm going through the track list, so why not? Let's start off with Overdrive. This was the lead, I was going to say lead single. This was the opening track of the record. The first non-single as well. I actually thought Overdrive would have been a single, but hearing it now, I can see why. It's kind of got this little surprise shock factor when you hear some grittier vocals from Philip. Just a little bit of unclean towards the end is a really cool addition. It also reminds me of Solence, the track Demons from Hope is a Cult, their fourth record as well. Kind of parallel there. It's pretty cool. Where Marcus, the lead singer, has these demons and they're calling out to him, and instead you got people here calling out to Philip. I find it weird because this album's a concept record, so the fact that Philip is more mentioned here than in the first three is kind of a shock to me. But Overdrive, I think it's a fun song. The verses I don't think are quite as strong, but I really enjoy the chorus on this one, and just the bridge I love. I think Overdrive's got that really fun pop rock mixed with hard rock energy, and it makes for a fun opening track. I mean, we've had Babylon, Ecstasy, and Fight. We definitely had a big variety when it comes to the opening tracks, but I kind of thought Overdrive would be my favourite. I don't know why, but it isn't. I guess there's just more surprises on the album, we'll have to find out. But moving on to Serotonin, this one is great. This was the final single, the third main single of the music video, which apparently a certain Poppy fan and some others have been attacking Normandie for copying the Violence Against Nature single, which Bad Omens and Poppy released, which is funny because as a Normandie fan I can tell you that Normandie started working on the music videos around August. Literally when Blood in the Water released, the other music videos would have been done by then. So just a heads up, they would have been filmed in July, if that's the case, and yeah, I don't think they would have copied, because I don't think they would have known that Violence Against Nature existed, but apparently Poppy is the only person who can do the clinic vibe. Anyway, ramble aside, Serotonin is probably the most Normandie sounding track on the album. It has that Normandie energy to a T. It reminds me of White Flag meets Dark and Beautiful Secrets. It takes a bit more of the edge of Dark and Beautiful Secrets and just more of the instrumentation of White Flag. I just love how they compress it together. Philip's vocals here are just absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoy just that chorus. It's just very catchy, just a very strong song, and I feel that's really what we needed for Normandie. Is probably a very Normandie sounding song that's also probably one of the best tracks on the album. Serotonin is amazing, just an overall fantastic track from Normandie. Moving on to Flowers for the Grave, this one's a bit more poppy and electronic-y, but I think it's really good at the same time. I enjoy the aesthetic this one has. Production wise, it feels very different, it feels distinctive. A very odd track from the album, especially since it was the second single, but I just love it. I think the production, I think this pop rock approach just works great. It's a very accessible track. I think anyone can kind of vibe with, and I think Flowers for the Grave just works. It's a great song. Love it. And then we have Blood in the Water, the lead single. This one also kind of felt more like a Normandie track, but Serotonin easily is the highlight for the most Normandie sounding track, and I love Blood in the Water for what it does. Blood in the Water kind of reminds me of Dark and Beautiful Secrets with a kind of twist and turn in some ways. I just love how this song explodes when it needs to and keeps the energy tight. But the aggressive vocals, especially just the bit more, I wouldn't say uncleans, but the more growly, sort of gritty vocals you hear on this track, especially on the So Tell Me How You Fucked Up 2 bit, is great. I just love this song. It definitely is a fun lead single for Normandie. It's not Jericho level of fantastic in my opinion, because Jericho is just another world of amazingness, but I really enjoy Blood in the Water. I think Blood in the Water is definitely a concrete, great Normandie track for sure. Definitely a top 5. And then we go into Ritual, which is the second major single and the fourth one overall. Ritual is good, but it's one of my least favourites, I'd say. I like the idea of it. It's a softer track. I think the strings work great. I just feel like it's kind of a bit more of a more gimmicky track, but I still enjoy it nonetheless. It's more that focus on relationship, because we haven't really had much of that. I get, like, Blood in the Water is more about hurt people, hurting people. Flowers for the Grave, I guess maybe that one's implied to be more about relationship, but this one seems to be more of a, a better relationship. It's a nice song. I just think everything else is just, or at least a lot of the stuff is stronger than it, but it's still a great track. Moving on to Butterflies, I honestly will say Butterflies is the weakest track on this album, probably one of the weakest Normandie songs. It's very repetitive. It doesn't really change its tempo. It's just it has a very similar sound, and it doesn't really increase in that. It just kind of feels restricted, and that's kind of like an issue I had with some of the songs, just the instrumentals even feeling restricted. But Butterflies, I think the best thing about it is the bass line. It's fine. It's just definitely one of Normandie's weaker tracks. Colorblind, though, we go from Normandie's worst song on the album to Normandie's best. Colorblind is amazing. I love the energy. It's so upbeat. It just has this driving force of pure ecstasy, and I just love how the bridge goes as well. It just builds up and just unleashes just some great harsh vocal passage into just some of the best instrumentation on the record. I was kind of missing this since the singles were kind of limited on the instrumentation up until around Serotonin, so it's really nice that Colorblind brings that in. Colorblind is easily my favourite track on the album. And then you go into Hourglass, which I think Hourglass is great. This one's definitely got some grit to the vocal as well. I like the breakdown with the lead singer of Bury Tomorrow, at least the unclean vocalist, Danny Winterpate. I think it's cool to have him do the breakdown for this track. I just feel like it's a weird track to have a breakdown, but I still like it. I think this is one, it's a bit more limited on the instrumentation, because I feel like it could go a bit louder and a bit heavier, but I like it still. Hourglass is the longest track they've done. This one just kind of sparses out stuff. It's a bit slower, and then it goes into a bit more of a moodier, hypnotic chorus, and I do like it, honestly. Hourglass is great, but I don't know, it just kind of, the song I thought would be near the top of my list it's not even my top 5 songs. So I actually like Hourglass quite a bit, but yeah, maybe there's just a lot of surprise bangers on this record, but Hourglass is great. Sorry, on the other hand, is one of the weakest. I like Sorry, but I feel like the thing I like about Sorry is kind of been done a bit better. It's the slowest song on the album, but it has a bit more of a bop. It kind of turns into a little bit of a bop. I like the way it just builds up the kind of thrill there. It's a nice song. It's just kind of it's a good song. I just don't really feel very strong against it, and or strong opinions for it. And in the same vein, I kind of prefer Ritual when it comes to the slower tracks. I think Ritual just kind of feels like a more constructed track, but Sorry, it's still good. And then we go into All in My Head, which is a huge banger. I did not expect this one to vibe with me, but I fucking love this one. It's behind Colorblind, but it's very close. I love the chorus. It's very beautiful, and it really reminds me of Dark and Beautiful Secrets, like Chemicals sort of aesthetic. But All in My Head is fantastic. A huge surprise, and I love the bridge. The bridge is the best bridge on the record. It is such a great track. And Glue wraps this album up, and it's great. Glue is not what I expected, and I love it. It's a bit more of a breezier track, similar to Flowers for the Grave, but it's nice and soft, but it still has the energy of Normandie, and it just makes for a really good album closer. And that is every track. I have spent 10 minutes because I'm digging this album, honestly. It's a fun album. I think the only the huge issues I'd say is I feel like compared to previous Normandie, it just feels a bit less, I'd say it's a bit more experimental for sure, but I feel like the instrumentals are a bit restricted on some tracks, like Hourglass definitely has that feeling to me. Butterflies just feels very restricted as an idea, and Sorry, it just kind of is there. I feel like some songs try to push the best of its sound but doesn't quite get it, and other songs just let shit happen and it just magically works. I wasn't expecting this review to be long, so I'm just going to end it here, but Normandie's album's pretty good, although I will say, just due to some of the limitations, it's not quite as good as it could have been, but I still really enjoy it. It's definitely still another great contender to the discography. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, a very high 4 to be exact. It's a great record, and I definitely recommend this one. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.